Greetings and salutations, my fellow Skyrim players. This is Kato, and we continue Part 3 for the quest for Daedric artifacts. If you have trouble finding the Daedric princes and their shrines, their artifacts, this is the place to be, because I'm going to show you all that. Now, this is not spoiler-free, so I recommend watching the first part of the quest and going on from there if you just need to find it. In this episode, I will be covering the Cursed Tribe, a Daedra's Best Friend, and the Break of Dawn. That's from Masque of Clavicus, Vial, and Meridia. Without any further ado, let's get started. First quest is the Cursed Tribe for Malakath, who represents the spurned, the ostracized, the sworn oath, and the bloody curse. He is also known as the God King of the Orcs. This quest begins in the Orc fortress of Lorgashbur. Take the road southwest of Riften and you should find it. When you first arrive at the proper level, you will see that these orcs are being attacked by a giant. Once you talk to Atub immediately after that, she will say that they are cursed, and she would like to summon Malakath. She then sends you to gather troll fat and a Daedra heart. If you're doing this directly after Vermina's quest, which I covered in part 2, and gathered all the ingredients, you should have no problem having those items. If not, you should be able to buy them from an alchemist. Bring those ingredients to Atub, and she will take you to go see Ymars, their chief, and let him know that it's time to summon Malakath and get rid of this curse. Atub then summons Malakath, who just starts ripping into Ymars.
Weak, you're small, and you're an embarrassment. You let giants overrun my shrine. Bring me their leader's club as an offering, and I might release you from this curse.
Ymars' first reaction is towards you. He blames you for not only summoning Malakath, but he also blames you for the fact that he has to go kill a giant now. So even though he's not that convincing to begin with, he convinces you to go with him and make sure he stays alive on his way to the giant. Then he assures you, of course, that you will be paid gold, or some such reward, for doing him this favor, and then ultimately leaving them all alone. He says he'll meet you at Fallowstone Cave, which is northeast of Riften, along the mountains. You shouldn't have any trouble finding it. When you arrive in open dialogue with Ymars, and this is probably the third time he says let's get this over with, when in actuality he's drawing out the time longer by talking to you. And then he also complains about his sleeping habits. You get the overall idea of who he really is. After that, you enter the gorgeous yet deadly Fallowstone Cave, which you can expect to fight giants and bears. All you really have to do is follow the river, or just follow Ymars and make sure he stays alive. But it seems as though he really has no problem taking care of himself. When you get to the exit of Fallowstone Cave, you will enter an area called Giant's Grove. It does have a map marker, which means you can travel to it, but you cannot fast travel out of it, which is kind of strange. Ymar stops about halfway to the giant and proceeds to bribe you into killing the giant instead. This is the infamous choice of the quest. So if you proceed to kill the giant, take the hammer, and come back to him.
Good work. You have a true fighting spirit. Did that better than I could have. Of course, I can't let you leave here alive. Wouldn't want anyone finding out.
You end up having to kill Ymars too. This reinforces what Malakath said earlier and what he says now.
2 problems solved at once.
So the other choice, telling Ymars, no, I'm not going to kill the giant for you, doesn't take too much convincing. The only major difference between these two choices is having to kill the giant and Ymars, or just the giant. This one's not only the easier route, but for me it was the most entertaining. So entertaining, in fact, that I did a dramatic rewind. Watch out for that giant's special move. After this point, you can kill the giant and take Shagirl's hammer, and bring it back to Lorgashbur to put it on the shrine. You can initiate this by talking to Atub. Now, she asks what happened to Ymars. This is the only thing really affected by your choice. But of course, regardless of what you say, Malakath corrects you in how weak Ymars really was. After this, you of course earned Malakath's favor, and he gives you Volendrung, also known as the Hammer of Might. I consider this to be the Berserker's ideal weapon, because its effect is to absorb 50 points of stamina per hit. As an added bonus, for being friends with this tribe now, you can get Yugor as a follower. Her skill set is along the lines of a scout or a ranger. She'd make a decent support unit. Hope you're feeling that sense of accomplishment. We got 2 more to go. A Daedra's Best Friend takes us back to Falkreath, and is for Clavicus Vial, the Daedric Prince of Wishes. Described as the Daedra who like souls just for the sake of having them. As I had mentioned in part 1, the guards outside may ask you if you've seen a dog. But the real starter of this quest is Lod the Blacksmith, so head over to the Blacksmith's Forge and talk to Lod. He will ask you almost immediately if you have seen a dog. The reason he has such interest in this dog is because he needs a ferocious guardian of his forge and his house. So he gives you a slab of meat to see if you can go lure that dog, and directs you outside of town. Before you even have a chance to put the meat on the ground, you are approached by the dog that he was looking for, and to your surprise it begins to speak to you. It makes sense that this is not just any dog. He tells you that his master, Clavicus Vile, kicked him out after an argument got heated, and Barbas wants your help in reuniting them. He guides you to Clavicus Vile's shrine, which is located in Haymar's Shame, that is along the mountain pass to the east of Falkreath. When you enter the cave, you should expect to fight several vampires and their thralls, so plan accordingly. Outside of the constant encounters with vampires and their minions, Haymar's Shame still has a pretty linear layout. I've used that word twice now. It's straightforward. There are a couple traps you should look out for, especially the spike trap that comes down on you. Just watch for pressure plates and you should be fine. Now this dungeon is separated into 2 cells. Cells being the areas that require a load screen, so it's fairly large. Of course, Barbas should be with you during this endeavor, and since he can't be killed at this point, he makes some decent fodder when you're going up against these vampires, so keep that in mind if you happen to be wearing cloth. At the end of this cave, you finally reach the Shrine of Clavicus Vile.
Oh, what's your heart's desire? What kind of deal can we strike?
This is of course the abridged version, so he has to reunite him with Barbas, and that doesn't go over so well, but then he reconsiders, and says that there is a powerful axe that he would like retrieved. He tells you that this axe resides in Rimerock Burrow, which is pretty much on the other side of the map. He still considers this a deal that you're making, and he thinks he's so clever. For example, the vampires that you just killed were some of his followers that were begging for a cure, so his way of granting wishes is questionable. Barbas tells you a little bit about the axe you're going to retrieve. It was given to someone named Sebastian Lort when he begged Clavicus Vile for a cure for his daughter's lycanthropy. So Clavicus Vile gave him an axe, indeed forcing him to kill his own daughter. Look behind the shrine and you'll find an exit, and also a back entrance so you don't have to track all the way through the dungeon to get back to him. So now you must make the trek to Rimerock Burrow. Sadly, the closest city to that is Solitude, and it's not even really that close. Take the road northwest. I recommend a horse. Be prepared to fight a manic depressive wizard and a fire atronach. Once you kill Sebastian Lort, go to the ancient table and you will find the Rueful axe. Now all you need to do is return to Clavicus Vile at Haymar's Shame. Now just in case you forgot where that back entrance was, you head up the mountain pass a little ways, and on the inside of the first corner there's a tree. Behind that tree is the back entrance. You return to Clavicus Vile with the dog and the axe, and he tempts you with the idea of keeping the axe for yourself. So here's the first choice.
And only if you use the axe to kill Barbas. Simple as that.
You have the option of speaking to Barbas, and he tells you that the axe is not the only thing that Clavicus Vile has. I believe this is the only quest that tells you your options before you make your decision. If you make the choice to kill Barbas and keep the axe, Clavicus Vile says good job, well done, all that. Then Barbas appears next to him on his shrine, which is pretty close to how it looked in Oblivion, if you can remember that far back. After you get the Rueful axe, it's another weapon that deals damage to stamina, but you do not absorb, so this is a good weapon for causing your enemies to stagger. Should you choose to reunite Barbas with Clavicus Vile, he will still give you an artifact, and then he and Barbas will simply disappear. Choosing not to kill Barbas will yield the Masque of Clavicus Vile, which gives you 20% better prices at store, plus 10 speechcraft, and plus 5% magicka regeneration. Alright, we are now on to the last one for this episode. The Break of Dawn for the Daedric Prince, Meridia, the Lady of Everlasting Energies. Now at level 12, the starter for this quest can be looted from the final chest in any dungeon. Also, you can go directly to the shrine and she will direct you to a place where the beacon is being kept.
Return my beacon to Mount Kilcreath, and I will make you the instrument of my cleansing light.
So that's what happens when you loot it, so don't be surprised when you hear a voice in your head when you pick something up. It's perfectly normal. Meridia's shrine is hard to miss. It has a giant beam of light coming down on it, and is off of the road west of Solitude. When you arrive at Meridia's shrine, at the top of Mount Kilcreath, place the beacon on the altar, and you will be transported far above Skyrim to speak to Meridia.
It is time for my splendor to return to Skyrim. But the token of my truth lies buried in the ruins of my once great temple, now tainted by a profane darkness skittering within.
Meridia tasks you with going into her temple and killing the necromancer Malkarin, who has desecrated it 100 times over and taken advantage of the war that's going on and resurrecting both Imperial and Stormcloak soldiers as his minions.
Malkaran has forced the doors shut, but this is my temple and it responds to my decree. I will send down a ray of light. Guide this light through my temple and its doors will open.
On your way down, the script may not catch up fast enough and you could possibly die from falling. If that is the case, reload your game and as you're falling, open up your menu, wait for roughly a minute, and the script should catch up so you don't die. So when you make your way into the temple, the first two things you notice are black mist, that's pretty cool looking, and desecrated corpses lining the halls. Be sure to loot them. They can have anywhere from 25 to 125 gold on them. If you're able to loot all of them, you'll have a sizable amount of gold by the time you leave. This is one of two places in Skyrim that you'll encounter an enemy called a Corrupted Shade. They are incomplete remnants of Stormcloak and Imperial soldiers. Now, though they have the looks of a skeleton, just darker, they're not nearly as fragile, so be careful. Meridia said you must guide her light throughout her temple. The Ooh Shiny factor I had mentioned in part 1 plays a major part in this quest, as you must find each pedestal in each room and activate it to open the door to the next area. This repeats until you make it to your final objective, which is the act of defeating Malkaran. This is a sizable 2-cell dungeon. After the first cell you actually end up outside, and you get to watch Meridia's light travel to the next section of the temple. Back inside in the second cell, you will have to travel upwards almost to the ceiling of the main chamber, and then once all of the pedestals have been activated, drop back down to the door that it opened and go into the catacombs. After that, it's a short path to Malkaran and your prize. I don't recommend attacking Malkaran head-on, because not only does he have 4 corrupted shades guarding him, but he is also a powerful wizard, and likes using the spell Ice Storm, which has the potential to instantly kill you if you're in its path. Those with high frost resistance don't need to worry as much, but it's better to be cautious than dead, because you won't get a chance to later. Loot everything you feel the need to and then activate the final pedestal. You'll once again be transported to Meridia.
Malkaran is vanquished. Skyrim's dead shall remain at rest. This is as it should be. This is because of you. Take the mighty Dawnbreaker, and with it purge corruption from the dark corners of the world. Wield it in my name, that my influence may grow.
Meridia allows you to keep the Dawnbreaker, and you are now her champion. Also on your way down the first set of stairs, there is a word for Elemental Fury on a dragon wall, so make sure to grab that too. Now, as far as I've seen, this is an extremely popular weapon, the Dawnbreaker. A one-handed sword. It burns the target for 10 damage, and it has a chance to cause undead to explode and or run away. Good weapon for almost any situation. There's 3 more artifacts in your pocket, and if you've been following this series, you should have 9 artifacts, meaning you have a pretty decent arsenal to wreak some havoc in the next dungeon you happen to visit, or maybe even a town. It's all really up to you. I want to personally thank you guys for watching this episode, and hope that you continue watching them until the series is finished, which is only 2 more to go. So if you like this, press that little thumbs up button down below. It helps my ego out a little bit. If you're feeling really generous, leave me a comment. I like to see words from other people sometimes. Again, thanks for watching, and best of luck on your future quests.